Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfiction guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What if Harem Deku mastered Rokushiki? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku woke up, the remnants of sleep fading as he recalled the recent school festival. The event had been a concert aimed at bringing a smile to Eri's face and providing a moment of respite for his classmates after the relentless attacks from the League of Villains. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically when their leader, All for One, was defeated by the symbol of peace, All Might, who subsequently retired, leaving Izuku to carry on that legacy. Stretching his arms and cracking his shoulders, Izuku felt the soreness from a night of training. He decided a shower would help ease his muscles. After refreshing himself, he donned his school uniform and caught a glimpse of his reflection in the mirror. A smile crept onto his face as he reflected on his journey, overcoming years of being quirkless, receiving the power of the symbol of peace, and training hard to master it all. He felt a swell of pride for how far he had come. Stepping out of his dorm room, he made his way downstairs to prepare breakfast. It was still 30 minutes before classes began, and he found the common area unusually quiet. Normally, early birds like Yaoyorozu, Ida, Sato, and Bakugo would be around, but today, there was only silence. Shrugging it off, Izuku focused on his routine. He needed to eat his cereal before heading to the main building to avoid the wrath of Aizawa-sensei, a thought that sent a shiver down his spine. After finishing breakfast and brushing his teeth, he grabbed his yellow school bag and slipped on his familiar red shoes, which he had worn since he was 4. As he stepped into the first-year hallway, he noticed it was eerily empty. No teachers, no students, just an unsettling quiet. Izuku's instincts kicked in, urging him to flee, but he dismissed it as paranoia, attributing it to his lack of sleep from the previous night. He thought to himself that he needed to tone down his training. It was clearly affecting him. Finally reaching the tall door of Class 1A, he swung it open with a cheerful greeting. "Good morning, guys," he called out, hoping to break the silence that had settled over the school. Izuku Midoriya entered the classroom expecting the usual morning greetings, but instead, he was met with a wave of hostility. Shoji's tentacle wrapped around him, and Sato, enhanced by his quirk, delivered a powerful punch to Izuku's gut, causing him to double over in pain. Uraraka's voice rang out, filled with accusation. "Do you remember what you did, traitor?" Holding his stomach, Izuku looked up, confusion etched on his face. Is this some sort of prank? Because if it is, it's not funny. Sato prepared to strike again, but Tokoyami's dark shadow intercepted the blow. Kaminari, clearly upset, shouted, "What is the meaning of this, Tokoyami?" Tsuyu stepped forward, supporting Tokoyami. "We don't even know if the video is true." Uraraka, frustrated, replied, "Why can't you understand, Tsu? The evidence is enough." Before Tsuyu could respond, Ida unexpectedly lunged at Izuku, kicking him in the face and sending him crashing into the wall. Ida attempted another attack, but Todoroki intervened, saying, "Stand down, Ida. We can't just attack him, even if he's accused of being a traitor. It's unlikely after everything he's done for us." Yaoyorozu joined Todoroki, along with Kirishima and Jiro. "I agree with Todoroki," she said, though confrontation was not her strong suit. "He has done so much for us to just turn villain. Many of us owe our lives to him, including you, Ida, Uraraka, Tsuyu, Bakugo, and others." Kirishima added, "Don't forget, Midoriya saved the school festival from gentle criminal, Eri from overhaul, and Koda from muscular." Izuku, still on the ground, asked, "Can someone tell me what's going on?" Tokoyami replied, "You're accused of stealing UA files about students from Nizu's office." Shocked, Izuku exclaimed, "Why would I need to steal them? My hobbies are analyzing heroes, and I've never hidden that." Some students remembered his hero notebook, but Mineta scoffed, "Who cares? It's probably just some doodles." The classroom door swung open, revealing Aizawa, his expression somber, with Principal Nizu perched on his shoulder, looking pleased. A skinny All Might followed behind them. Nizu announced, Izuku Midoriya, you are hereby under arrest for stealing files about students and selling them to the League of Villains. He projected a video showing Izuku in his hero costume stealing the files before jumping into Kurogiri's warp gate. Izuku was taken aback. But that's not me. I was training all night to control my quirk and was too exhausted to even move. All Might interrupted, don't make excuses, young man. Admit that you stole those files. If there's an ounce of heroism in you, which is highly unlikely, I can't believe I once saw potential in you. Izuku felt crushed. Not you too, All Might. I didn't spend this whole year destroying my body just to be framed and thrown away. Before he could say more, police officers tackled him to the ground, placing quirk HNDCFFS on him. You are under arrest for stealing UA files and selling them to the League of Villains. You know your rights. Izuku nodded sadly, but Nizu added, he doesn't need those rights, he's caught red-handed. Aizawa protested, Principal, that's too far. At least give him parole, he could be innocent for all we know. But Nizu ignored him, jumping from Aizawa's shoulder. Adieus, Izuku Midoriya. May our paths never cross again. As Izuku was brought to his feet, the officer said, say your last words and choose wisely. Taking a deep breath, Izuku looked at everyone who didn't believe in him. So this is how I'm rewarded for everything I've done for each of you? Uraraka, I saved you from the zero-pointer. Ida, I saved you from the hero killer. Mineta and Tsuyu, I saved both of you in the USJ. Bakugo, I saved you during the sludge incident. All Might, I saved you at the USJ when you reached your limit. I could go on and on about what I've done for everyone in this room. Is this the justice you speak of? You've stripped me of my rights to prove my innocence, but I know one day I will be proven innocent. And when I come back, don't expect forgiveness, because you will receive none. The door opened again, revealing Class 1B, all wearing worried expressions. Minoma shouted, what the hell? Remove those cuffs, Udiman Biasurdi. Everyone was taken aback by Minoma's outburst, especially since he was defending a Class 1A scum. Siro asked, wait, don't you hate our class? Minoma replied, yes, I hate your class with a passion, but the exception is Midoriya. Unlike you all, he doesn't look down on us and has helped us through a lot. Itsuka added, a simple videotape isn't enough evidence to claim him as the UA traitor. It could be a transformation quirk for all we know. Setsuna, tears in her eyes, said, Greenie did so much for us. I can't believe you would betray your own after all he's sacrificed. All Might interjected, Vlad, control your students. Vlad looked at his students and then at All Might, shrugging. Even I have to agree with them. Besides, Principal Nizu took it too far by stripping him of his rights. All Might ordered, officers, take him away. Izuku was dragged out of the classroom, with some from Class 1B and a few from Class 1A trying to protest, but it was futile. All Might walked behind them, saying, leave him here. I would like to have one last talk with my former student. The police officers complied, stepping away. All Might picked up a strand of Izuku's hair and said, I am taking back one for all. You should know very well why. Izuku replied, I can't believe my own mentor chose a videotape over me. You didn't even have your friend Tsukachi confirm the accusation. All Might expressed his belief that Tsukachi shouldn't waste his time on someone he considered a disappointment. Izuku responded, feeling the weight of the words. Disappointment, huh? Just like I told those so-called friends before, once I am proven innocent, we'll see who the real disappointment is. But don't come begging for forgiveness later. I'll save that for when I'm proven innocent. All Might, curious about the last part, decided to let it go for now and signaled the police officer to escort Izuku to the helicopter. As they flew over his hometown of Mustafa, Izuku rested his elbow on the window. One of the police officers spoke up, Kid, I'm really sorry for what happened. It's ridiculous how they just discarded you based on one piece of evidence. The other officer chimed in, and to strip you of parole is downright cruel. Even the most dangerous villains get one. Izuku replied, don't worry about it. After all, Aizawa-sensei once said, this world is full of unfairness, and we are supposed to combat it. The first officer nodded, impressed. You're quite wise for your age, kid. That's a good teacher you have. Izuku gave a small nod and a fleeting smile, but it quickly faded into an emotionless expression, which saddened the officers. In his mind, Izuku thought, justice has lost its meaning in this society. It's up to me to fix it. Chapter End. Izuku's POV. Hours had passed since he was wrongfully accused of being the UA traitor and sent to Tartarus without the possibility of parole. The evidence against him was flimsy at best, a video showing him entering the school in his hero costume. Who would wear their hero outfit while infiltrating their own school? It was absurd. They had completely overlooked the possibility of someone with a transformation quirk being involved, and he knew exactly who that was. She had used her ability multiple times, including during the license exam and the raid on the Hasaikai. Yet, they had chosen to ignore her existence and instead imprison someone who had always been loyal, sacrificing so much for them. It was ironic that Class 1B, often considered inferior to Class 1A, could see through the deception. Even Minoma, who hardly knew him, recognized that this wasn't right. What hurt the most was the silence from Uraraka and Ida, the two people he was closest to. Bakugo, who had always held a grudge against him, remained quiet, torn between loyalty and doubt. Despite their rivalry, Izuku felt he could forgive Bakugo for believing the worst of him, especially since he hadn't attacked him outright. Now, he was being skirted to Tartarus, the most notorious prison. He might encounter many of the villains he had arrested, perhaps even all for one if Nizu decided to be particularly cruel. As they approached, two guards patted him down for weapons, taking his wallet, phone, and keys, placing them on a shelf. One of the guards handed him a set of clothes and instructed him to change. Feeling uneasy, he complied, quickly slipping into the orange jumpsuit and cape before being led to a room with a cameraman for his mugshot. The name on the mugshot read, Shimura Midoriya Izuku. It was almost comical that the grandson of the 7th user of One for All was being sent to such a dreadful place, all because the 8th user had failed to believe in him. He had wanted to reveal his identity to his mentor, but now he relished the thought of the look on his face when the truth came out. With One for All evolving, he had begun communicating with past users, and he imagined that All Might would face consequences like never before. After the mugshot, he was handed over to two other guards who seemed sympathetic to his plight. He appreciated their kindness but kept his gratitude hidden. Favoritism could lead to trouble. His cell was exactly what one would expect from a prison, a dark room with a small, tattered mattress, a toilet, and a broken table. It was clear that the place needed serious maintenance. Once inside, he was informed of the prison regulations: no fighting, obey the guards, adhere to curfews, and attend meals at designated times. Fortunately, his knowledge of prison life, gained from his nerdy tendencies, would serve him well. To survive, he would need to either prove himself to the other inmates or align with a gang for protection. Most of the inmates relied heavily on their quirks, lacking experience in hand-to-hand combat. Izuku, on the other hand, had trained in martial arts, thanks to kendo, making him proficient in various fighting styles. After 2 hours of boredom lying on the mattress, he decided to do some push-ups and sit-ups to stay active. Just as he was getting into a rhythm, a guard approached, hitting the bars of the cell with a stick. "Inmate, head to the cafeteria now. Move it." Heading towards the cafeteria, I noticed inmates divided into groups, confirming my theory about gang dynamics. I stood in line for food that looked like it had been there for a month. Honestly, it was disgusting. My face remained emotionless as I accepted the tray. This wasn't the first time I had suffered at the hands of this society. Scanning the room for a table, I found one in a corner and sat down to eat, ignoring the curious looks I received. After all, what were the chances of seeing a kid almost 17 years old in the most dangerous prison? Fate had other plans, however, as a tall, muscular guy followed by his cronies approached me. He reminded me of Bakugo back in the day, surrounded by his group of extras. I looked up at the apparent leader of the wing, who wore a wicked smile, clearly enjoying the idea of tormenting new prey. But I wasn't your average target. I was the kind of prey that bites back, and when I did, it would hurt. "Look here, a child," he sneered. "No matter. We came here to set some rules. My name isn't worth mentioning to trash like you, but all you need to know is that if I say jump, you jump. If I tell you to do something, you won't argue. Failure means you'll get beaten or worse, and nobody here cares if some nobody just dies. I remained unfazed by his threats and raised an eyebrow, unimpressed by his attempts at intimidation. This only angered him, and his cronies stepped back in fear. You said it yourself, the guards don't care about anyone here. That means you're a nobody just like me. So how about you threaten someone else who might be fazed by that pathetic attempt? Seriously, get creative. This threat has gotten pretty old. Everyone around us was shocked. Nobody had ever talked back to the boss before. He glared at me, a tick mark appearing on his forehead. You have guts, I'll give you that, but sometimes guts can lead to your death. He lunged at me with a knife, but I dodged and grabbed his arm, pulling him to the ground. I applied pressure to his wrist until he dropped the weapon, then kicked it away. So, you think you can intimidate me with a knife? Sadly for you, I've been trained to fight, with or without my quirk. Most of you have relied on your quirks your whole life, and now you're rendered useless. You think you can beat me with a basic knife move? Think again. I have no problem putting scum like you in your place, but I'm here temporarily. I'll be out as soon as my innocence is proven, so why don't you go bother someone else? Do I make myself clear? He didn't respond. Struggling against my grip. I tightened it, nearly to the breaking point, and he screamed, "Okay, I understand. Let go of my arm." I released him, and his cronies rushed to pull him away at lightning speed. The onlookers stared at me with a mix of fear, admiration, and surprise. It's not every day you see a teen take down someone twice his size. Soon, 2 guards appeared and approached me. Although we saw what happened and know he was in the wrong, we have to follow protocol and bring you back to your cell, one guard said. I sighed. Fine. I understand. Thank you for complying with the orders, kid, the guard replied. As I walked past others, they scattered away from me. I couldn't help but smirk. I enjoyed having them fear me. This was going to be an interesting experience. At another table, a group of people watched, one with long hair smirking. I guess we found someone worthy to train in the Rokushiki, he said. A woman with glasses nodded. Indeed, Lucci. He seems to have a lot of potential and a strong sense of justice. Lucci raised his head. Let's see what he does tomorrow. After Izuku's arrest for being labeled a traitor, one might expect UA to return to normal, but that was far from the truth. Izuku had influenced many during his time at school, and he was well liked for helping others with their quirks and emotional struggles. When news broke that he was sent to Tartarus without parole, it sparked a riot among the students. Many lost respect for Principal Nizu, and the details of Izuku's achievements were leaked, prompting public outcry over why UA would send a promising student to such a harsh prison without sufficient evidence. Parents began withdrawing their children from UA, enrolling them in other prestigious hero schools like Shiketsu and Ketsubutsu, fearing that UA might treat their top students the same way. Those who remained at UA were divided, with some believing it wasn't worth the trouble to defend a traitor, while others insisted on Izuku's innocence. Outside UA's gates, a horde of reporters and citizens shouted at the school. It was the day Principal Nizu decided to give students a week off to devise a plan to address the public unrest. In a meeting room, the staff was seated around a table, with Principal Nizu facing away from them, clearly distressed. Izawa, though annoyed by the reporters, couldn't help but smirk at the consequences of their actions. We need to find a way to calm the public riot, Principal Nizu finally said, turning to face the staff. Parents are taking their children away from UA and enrolling them in other hero schools, and our government funding is being cut. Izawa confronted Nizu, expressing his frustration. These are the consequences, Nizu. You decided to throw Izuku into Tartarus based on just one piece of evidence, without even giving him a chance for parole. Parents have every right to fear for their children's safety. All Might interjected, but he is a traitor. I don't understand why they need to start a riot. With all due respect, All Might, Snipe replied, parole is a fundamental human right. Even the most dangerous criminals are given a chance. You decided to imprison him over a stolen student quirk file. Nizu countered, Snipe, brute strength can't always win against intelligence. What Izuku did was provide information on our students, which could expose them to danger. Midnight scoffed. Danger? Our students have faced danger since day one. We've had the USJ incident, Hosa City, the summer camp, and many more events. Not to mention, the sports festival showcased our students' quirks. Aizawa nodded in agreement. Our students were in danger the moment they enrolled here, largely because All Might became a teacher. As aspiring heroes, they need to learn to navigate the unfairness of the world. Besides, those quirk files are outdated and only contain basic information without details on ultimate moves. Nizu sighed. Even so, they are still first years entering their second year at UA. The League of Villains has hindered our ability to provide them with the training they deserve. We're fortunate they passed the licensing exam. Let's not forget they passed thanks to Izuku's planning, Aizawa insisted. The so-called traitor you speak of deserves a chance for parole. We should investigate further instead of jumping to conclusions based on a potentially misleading video. Cementos added, I agree with Aizawa. I find it hard to believe Midoriya would risk everything just to steal files for the League of Villains. Many students have said he has helped them learn to use their quirks. Nizu relented. Fine, I will look into it more. The meeting concluded with Nizu agreeing to further investigate Izuku's case. However, Aizawa began his own search, knowing Nizu might not take it seriously, as he believed Izuku was indeed a traitor. Meanwhile, in Tartarus, a prisoner watched the news in disbelief, laughing at the reports of UA's destruction. Serves them right for believing I'm the traitor based on a tape, Izuku declared. Wow, you did quite a lot as a hero, Prisoner 1 remarked. I believe in justice, Izuku replied, a gleam in his eye. It pleases me to see that justice has been served. I look forward to seeing them crawl back to me, asking for forgiveness when they realize they betrayed their top student. At a distant table, Kaku nodded. He is the one. Rob agreed. Indeed. I'm eager to see what the kid has to offer. Blueno signaled a guard, who rushed over. Yes, Rob, sir. See that kid, Izuku Midoriya? I want you to place him in our cell, Rob instructed. Why, sir? Are you going to hurt him? The guard asked, trembling. Not at all, Rob chuckled. I've taken a liking to the kid. He believes strongly in justice, and I simply want to nurture that. The guard shook with fear, realizing that CP9 intended to recruit the kid who had managed to keep the prison orderly. The previous boss had even become reserved, not wanting to get on Midoriya's bad side. While the guards appreciated the ease he brought to their jobs, they were also wary of the power he seemed to wield. Of course, Rob, sir. I'll inform the warden about your request, the guard said before hurriedly leaving. As he ran to the warden, he hoped that Izuku wouldn't be more terrifying than he already seemed. He knew this would likely be a nightmare, especially since CP9 was known for their assassination skills and had come to find promising candidates for training. Rob smirked. I look forward to our meeting, Izuku Midoriya. Khalifa added with a sly smile, I can't wait to charm the kid to death. The other members of CP9 sighed, silently praying for Izuku's safety with a woman like Khalifa pursuing him. In the CP9 cell, which resembled a mansion more than a prison, Izuku was skirted by a guard down an unfamiliar path. Hey, isn't this the wrong place? Izuku asked. You'll be placed in a new cell with 7 others, the guard replied. Oh great. My cell was already small, now I have to share, Izuku complained. Actually, it's not your regular prison cell, the guard clarified. Izuku raised an eyebrow, wondering what could be regular about the most dangerous prison in Japan. They approached a large black door. Great. They're probably taking me to level 2. Maybe it won't be so bad if Stain is there, he thought. When the guard opened the door, Izuku was shocked to see the hallway transform from colorless and dirty to vibrant blue walls adorned with paintings and silver statues. Seriously? Is this the worst prison ever? It looks like a penthouse, he remarked. Well, because it is a penthouse, the guard replied. Izuku stared at the guard, contemplating this unexpected development. Did the ONU do this? No, the person inside wanted you moved here. He's quite interested in you and mentioned you have potential. But listen, kid, you might be strong, but you don't stand a chance against him. They've developed a technique that allows them to fight on par with people like All Might even without quirks. Intrigued, Izuku felt a thrill at the thought of a technique that could match those with quirks. He was eager to learn more about why he had been chosen. Noted, he said. The guard knocked on the door, which was opened by Kaku, who gestured for Izuku to enter. Good job. Now you're dismissed. Kaku instructed. Yes, sir, the guard replied, leaving Izuku to his new surroundings. The guard left, leaving Izuku surprised that a guard was taking orders from a group of prisoners. Shrugging it off, he entered the penthouse, which was surprisingly lavish for a bunch of criminals. It was certainly better than living in a dirty cell. Sitting on the sofa were 6 others whom Izuku recognized from the cafeteria. He was surprised they chose to eat there rather than in the penthouse, but he assumed all would be explained in due time. Rob Lucci greeted him. Hello, Izuku Midoriya, or should I call you Izuku Shimura? It's quite nice to meet you in person. Izuku replied, I recognize you all from the cafeteria. You're quite a group. They looked impressed, as they were usually unnoticed and remained undetected. Jabra commented, Impressive, kid. Not many are observant, but I guess from the reports, you've always had a keen eye. It's not really difficult, Izuku said. I could feel that you have been watching me for a while now. I don't know how, but I've always had that sense. Rob Lucci smirked. Oh, observation hockey at such a young age. It seems the Rokushiki will be easy for you. Izuku was confused about what observation hockey was or what Rokushiki meant. Blueno introduced himself. My name is Blueno. Don't worry about Rokushiki or observation hockey, all will be explained tomorrow. But first, we need to show you around your new cell. Khalifa chimed in, let me show him around, please. Rob Lucci replied, do whatever you want, Khalifa. Kaku added, just don't do anything crazy like you always do. I won't. Khalifa assured them. She then pulled Izuku into a hug, making him extremely embarrassed, which caused Khalifa to smirk in victory. See? He likes me, she teased. With that, she dragged a flustered Izuku to his new room while the others looked on, amused by Khalifa's antics. Inside the room, Khalifa asked, how do you like my company? You can have more of it. Izuku nearly lost his composure, trying to restrain himself from looking at the smirking Khalifa. She playfully brought him close again, and he struggled to regain his sanity. Khalifa smiled, nothing beats my charm. They soon reached a beautifully designed door. Upon opening it, Izuku found his new room, which was quite nice. It had a window showing the ocean, a king-size bed, a small desk with his phone, wallet, and keys, and a chair by the window with a coffee table and a TV. Well, that's nice. Better than my previous cell. Thank you. Izuku said, genuinely grateful. Khalifa smiled back. It's okay, it's the least we can do. I'll be taking my leave now, but don't think you'll get away from my affection. Izuku smiled, slightly embarrassed by her attention, but he couldn't deny that she was quite attractive even at, thank you. I look forward to it. Khalifa smirked before leaving, closing the door behind her. Izuku sighed in relief and opened the closet to find a new suit similar to Lucci's, but with a green tie and a symbol on the back representing the world government. He also discovered a nice outfit that was mostly black, except for green breathes, which seemed to match his hair and eye color. As he settled into his new surroundings, he couldn't help but think about the unexpected turn his life had taken. Chapter 1. New Beginnings. Izuku woke up in a soft bed, feeling the comfort of it compared to the rigid one he was used to. As he raised his head from the pillow, he was met with a playful smirk from Khalifa, who was nearby. Good morning. Did you enjoy waking up this way? She teased. Izuku blushed slightly. While it's every guy's dream to wake up next to an appealing woman, don't you ever get tired of this? Khalifa chuckled. Appealing? How sweet of you. She playfully nudged him closer, but he was starting to get used to her antics. Let's go, Lucci and the others are waiting for you, Khalifa said, standing up. Should I wear the suit? Izuku asked, glancing at the clothes laid out. No need for now, she replied. He nodded and headed to the bathroom to wash his face and brush his teeth. Afterward, he walked into the living room where the members of CP9 were gathered, still in their clothes from the previous day. "Hello, Shimura. I hope you slept better than in your regular cell," Kaku greeted him. "Yes, thank you for your kindness. I hope my clothes don't bother you, considering your usual style," Izuku replied, noticing their formal attire. "It's quite all right," Lucci assured him, gesturing for him to take a seat. Khalifa brought over a cup of tea, which he gratefully accepted. "I'd like to know your names since we'll be working together for a while," Izuku said. "Blueno," one of them introduced. "Jabra," another added. "Kaku," came the next. "Kumidori," followed. "Fukur Chapapapa," he chimed in cheerfully. "And I'm Khalifa," she said with a wink. "I am the leader of CP9, Rob Lucci." Lucci introduced himself. "It's nice to meet all of you. I'm sure you know more about me than I do about you, especially since you mentioned Rokushiki yesterday. I heard from a guard that you specialize in martial arts that rival quirks," Izuku said, curiosity evident in his tone. "Correct, Shimura. First, you need to understand who we are before we discuss your training," Lucci explained. Izuku sat up straight, showing he was eager to listen. "Our group is called CP9, also known as Cipher Pole 9, and we are a group of assassins," Lucci stated. Izuku's expression remained neutral, surprising everyone in the room. "I'm surprised you're not fazed by that declaration," Jabra remarked. "I don't think a group of assassins would be given such luxury and treated as superiors in a dangerous prison. I also noticed a suit tailored to my size with the World Government logo, and I have basic information about your organization," Izuku replied. The group exchanged glances, pleased with his calm demeanor. "Now, back to the matter at hand. We're getting older and want to prepare the next generation of our group to use Rokushiki to its fullest potential. There are multiple cipher pole groups. Ours specializes in assassination, while others focus on sailing, defeating pirates, and gathering information. We have the authority to eliminate threats without punishment, unless we abuse that authority," Lucci explained. "That's rare information. It's not even found online," Izuku noted. "Because it's classified," Kaku added. "Why did you choose me specifically, aside from my potential in hockey?" Izuku asked. Lucci smirked. "We've been observing you for some time. We know you were accused of stealing UA files and had your rights stripped away. What drew us to you was your sense of justice. We believe UA has let down a potential hero and we want to help you. We know about one for all and all for one, and we want to train you in our martial arts. What do you say?" Izuku considered the offer. "That's not surprising, given the world government's reach. I'd gladly accept. I made a promise to seek justice for those oppressed by society." The group smiled, impressed by his dedication and intelligence, knowing this would make training easier. "First, we'll focus on training your body to superhuman levels. It will be more challenging than cleaning a beach, so are you ready?" Lucci asked. "I never expected it to be easy, so bring it on," Izuku replied confidently. "After your physical training, we'll teach you Rokushiki techniques that will allow you to bend your body unnaturally, harden it like iron, create slashes with your kicks, move at incredible speeds, and even jump in a way that looks like flying," Lucci explained. Excitement bubbled within Izuku as he prepared for the challenges ahead. First week. Izuku's training this week was incredibly challenging. The first few days felt like a grueling test of endurance. He had to complete 1,000 punches, 1,000 kicks, 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, and 1,000 squats. Rising early at 5 a.m., he worked tirelessly until 3 p.m., often collapsing on the ground by the end of the day, breathing and sore. Each evening, he would eat a hearty meal before showering and heading to bed. This rigorous routine continued for a week, but gradually his muscles adapted and grew stronger. His dedication impressed the group around him, as few had the determination to endure such intense training, which made even Gran Torino's methods seem mild. By the end of the week, Izuku had also become accustomed to Khalifa's teasing and was able to engage with the rest of the group, including those who were more reserved. He discovered that they were good people, albeit guarded due to their own trust issues. Some were married, while others had children. Second week. Izuku's training took a new turn as he began wearing weights of 1 ton on each arm and leg. Attempting the same punches as before became significantly harder. The push-ups and sit-ups were exhausting, and he started running laps around Tartarus with the added weight, nearly fainting on several occasions. His unwavering commitment pushed him to the limit, and there was a moment when he fainted, but his legs kept moving. The others had to intervene to prevent him from overexerting himself, and they were impressed by his determination. Khalifa had taken a liking to Izuku, and since he was of legal age in Japan, she felt free to express her interest. One day, she unexpectedly joined him in the shower, catching him off guard. Despite his attempts to leave, she playfully insisted he stay, even helping him wash his back. The rest of the group was aware of Khalifa's antics and supported her, recognizing that she was genuinely interested in Izuku. They understood he needed help with his self-confidence and his issues with girls, especially considering his history with Bakugo, so they left that task to Khalifa. Third week. By the third week, Izuku had become significantly stronger, achieving a level of superhuman strength. He could lift weights that had once been impossible for him. With his physical training easing up, the focus shifted to teaching him Rokushiki. This week was dedicated to bringing Izuku up to a reasonable level in Rokushiki, preparing him to learn variations or even create his own by combining techniques. He quickly grasped Jeppo, realizing he had unconsciously used it during his fight against Overhaul. With practice, he was able to stay in the air for extended PRDS. Tekai came easily to him as well, given his rigorous training had already strengthened his muscles. Shurgon was also straightforward, as he had broken his fingers multiple times while using one for all, making them naturally strong. His precision improved thanks to his work study with Night Eye, and he only needed to work on his speed, which would be addressed in the following week. Renkyaku was learned swiftly, as his previous training had enhanced his leg strength, especially from developing his shoot style. Sora was also quickly mstred. He had previously used it against Overhaul when he activated 100% of One for All. Lastly, Kamii was acquired, allowing him to dodge attacks with remarkable flexibility, making him appear almost boneless. The final technique, Rokugan, was promised for later, as it was energy-draining and required a solid understanding of the variations. Fourth week. In the fourth week, Izuku began to integrate the Rokushiki techniques into his fighting style, finding them far more efficient than his previous methods, which had been tailored to his quirk. He also learned carpentry and tactical planning, aiming to outsmart even Nizu. This week was dedicated to refining his Rokushiki skills to ensure his techniques wouldn't drain his energy immediately. Izuku grew comfortable with Khalifa's presence during their baths, and his rising confidence led him to be bolder around her. Khalifa found his newfound assertiveness attractive, and the group often laughed at the role reversal, with Izuku teasing her more frequently. Even Lucci found the situation amusing, while Khalifa continued to challenge him. Fifth to sixth week. During the fifth and sixth weeks, Izuku began learning variations of Rokushiki. Although the initial stages were difficult, he adapted quickly, further enhancing his skills. For Jeppo, he learned a technique called Chosokyuten, Tekai Dama, or Super Cartwheel Iron Ball. This skill, taught to him by Fukur, involved combining his Tekai Dama movements, spinning himself with Sora while using Tekai, with Jeppo to maneuver in midair. The second technique he mstred was Kamisori, a combination of Jeppo and Soru that allowed Izuku to move in a zigzag pattern while airborne, enabling extremely fast three-dimensional movements. Izuku's first Tekai technique, learned from Lucci, was called Tekai Utsuji, or Iron Massachusetts. This form of Tekai served as a counter, transferring the shock of an attack back to the attacker, potentially causing serious injury to a normal human. He continued to train diligently in each variation of Rokushiki, making significant progress, though he had yet to learn many techniques that suited his quirk. By the end of his training, Izuku's hair had grown and he had gained better control over his emotions, honing his skills while waiting for the opportunity to prove his innocence or take matters into his own hands. He was also given the approval to train others he deemed worthy of Rokushiki and to form his own group if he wished. Months passed since Izuku began his training with CP, He had improved significantly, impressing everyone around him. Lucci decided to teach him the final phase of Rokushiki, a technique called Rokugan, which was powerful but exhausting, creating shockwaves upon use. Meanwhile, in the league space, Shigaraki sat in a darkened room that resembled their old hideout. He had matured since All for One's defeat and imprisonment in Tartarus. His hatred for All Might and Izuku Midoriya grew, as he recognized that Midoriya's existence threatened his plans. Shigaraki knew that Midoriya would always find a way to overcome obstacles, and he was determined to eliminate him by any means necessary. He was aware of the connection between them, which made his plans more personal. Shigaraki, dressed in a leather jacket over a suit similar to his MSDR's, had gloves covering 3 of his fingers to avoid disintegration. He understood he could never rival All for One, but he was determined to forge his own path. His thoughts were interrupted by Dabi's teasing. "Never thought I'd see you in a suit," Dabi remarked with a smirk. Shigaraki looked at him incredulously. "Seriously? Chapstick? I hate those products." Toga chimed in. "Oh Shiggy, you look amazing, but you'd be even more amazing if you bled." Spinner quickly pulled her away to prevent her from going overboard. Twice, in his dual personality, exclaimed, "You look good." USCK. Annoyed, Shigaraki demanded, "Is the preparation ready yet?" An unknown person smirked, reassuring him, "Don't worry, Shigaraki. I'm sure you'll take Hero Society down after this recording." In front of Shigaraki, a camera was set up with a man typing on a computer. This man, one of All for One's loyal henchmen, was skilled at hacking. With a press of a button, he grinned and said, "It's ready. It's your time to shine, young lord. Set Hero Society ablaze for All for One." "Good job." Shigaraki replied with a smirk, as the rest of the league stood behind the camera, ready to follow his lead. At youth, Class 1A gathered to watch the TV, though some kept their distance, believing in Izuku's innocence. Class 1B had stopped associating with them, feeling uncomfortable with the situation. "I really miss Setsuna." Mina sighed. "Agreed," Toru added, looking downcast. Ida, attempting to remain optimistic, said, "It's unfortunate that our neighboring class is ignoring us, but I'm sure they'll come around once things settle regarding that scoundrel." Bakugo growled at the comment, angered by the insult to Izuku. He had already confronted Kaminari and Mineta for similar remarks. Looking at the quirk-canceling wristband on his arm, he felt frustrated but knew the school couldn't afford to lose more students. Suddenly, the TV screen flickered with static as Uraraka tried to change the channel, but it remained the same. The screen then shifted to a dark room, causing unease among the viewers. As the lights illuminated the figure, everyone recognized the one person they despised the most, the one who had caused them so much pain. "Shigaraki!" they shouted in unison. Back with the league, the entire group smirked as the unknown person began counting down. With a thumbs up, he signaled the start, kneeling beside the couch, ready for the chaos to unfold. Shigaraki appeared on the screen, addressing the people of Japan. "Hello, Japan. Many of you may know me as Shigaraki Tamura, the leader of the League of Villains. We have been in hiding for a long time after suffering a significant blow a year ago when the former symbol of peace, All Might, imprisoned my MSTR. But that hasn't defeated us, nor has our disdain for a society that has treated us as worthless. I am here to discuss a matter that has sparked much debate, the UA traitor. Many of you believe that Izuku Midoriya is the traitor, but that is incorrect. This was an elaborate plan to eliminate the brat, who has caused us a lot of trouble. That's where Himiko Toga comes into play." Himiko stepped forward, trying to appear cute as she giggled. She held up a vial labeled Izuku's blood, and drank from it, transforming into Izuku, clad in his hero costume. Shigaraki smirked. "Yes, people of Japan, Izuku Midoriya is innocent. We had Himiko steal files while disguised as Midoriya to prove that the heroes can't even trust their own. Midoriya is someone who sacrificed his life for them, and many would have perished without him. So, is this the kind of heroes you want to trust with your lives?" Back at UA, the staff rushed into the dorms to ensure the students' safety. Class 1B followed, grumbling about being forced to come by Vlad King. Katsuki exclaimed, "That DM and HNDJB freak. What is he planning now?" Aizawa frowned, sensing the gravity of the situation. "I have a bad feeling about this." As Shigaraki continued his broadcast, he introduced himself and shifted to the topic of the traitor. Tension filled the room as some realized the potential catastrophe that awaited them if Shigaraki proved Izuku's innocence. The mention of Himiko surprised everyone, as they had never considered her transformation quirk. Nizu spoke up, concern etched on his face. "This isn't looking good for any of us right now." Katsuki shouted, "See? He was innocent all along. But you just threw the book at him and went back to your lives as if nothing happened. Get ready to face the consequences for abandoning our own." Aizawa added, "This is getting worse for all of us. You should have given him parole, Nizu. Now, all of us who believed in him will be caught in the crossfire because you were too adamant that he was the traitor." Gran Torino shook his head. "Good job, All Might. You betrayed your own successor. If you had faith in him like Nana did, this wouldn't have happened." All Might gasped, "Oh no! What have I done?" Back with the League, Shigaraki continued. "Now, let's get to the main event. All Might, I know you're watching this, and I'm sure you know my real name, Tenko Shimura. What if I told you that Izuku Midoriya is actually Izuku Shimura? How does it feel to know you betrayed your MSDR's grandson? It's a shame that the symbol of peace turned out like this. I wonder how she would feel seeing this. I bet she's rolling in her grave knowing you disappointed not just one, but two of her grandchildren. We have much to expose about the heroes, but for now, we only came to show that Izuku Midoriya is innocent. I gave you months to find out the truth, but none of you put in the effort. Now then, adios." The broadcast ended, leaving everyone in shock and anger. They began preparing for a protest, unwilling to let this slide. Back at UA, Shigaraki's revelation about Izuku's identity left the staff and students reeling. Those who knew about Nana Shimura paled as All Might fell to his knees, realizing he had sent her grandson to the worst prison with little proof. Gran Torino remarked, "This is worse than I thought. Good job, All Might. This is what happens when you don't think." Mina asked, Sir, who is Shimura?" Bakugo replied, "She is All Might's enemy. Her name is Nana Shimura," and HNDJB revealed that the nerd is her grandson. Everyone was shocked and understood why All Might was on his knees. They would feel the same if they realized they had harmed someone important to them. All Might, tears in his eyes, lamented, "What have I done? I betrayed my MSDR's grandson, all for what? Just because of a video? I won't be able to look her in the eyes again, knowing I sent her grandson to the worst prison." Is this what young Shimura wanted to say back then? Gran Torino asked, "What do you mean?" All Might recounted his conversation with Izuku before he was sent to Tartarus, and everyone sighed, realizing that Izuku was aware of his heritage. Aizawa stated, "He wants to humiliate you. He knew this outcome would happen and that his heritage would be revealed. He wants you to live with the regret of betraying him as a student and your own." Nizu, stressed, said, "We need to get him out of Tartarus right now. We will head there tomorrow since it's getting dark." Everyone nodded and left for their respective dorms, but Class 1A faced glares from Class 1B. Monoma taunted, "So, 1A scum, how does it feel to know that we in 1B believed in someone from your class whom we hardly knew?" Heads hung low, except for those who believed in Izuku's innocence. Kendo remarked, "Ida, you said we were blind to see the truth. Your glasses weren't accurate after all. I don't need a video to tell who a traitor is." Setsuna added, "Especially someone who saved most of you from death itself." Yui continued, "Shimura expected you to have his back, just like he did for all of you, but you ended up backstabbing him. I won't blame him if he decides not to return to UA." Uraraka insisted, "No, Deku-kun will return to us and will forgive us." Katsuki glared at the group, his voice sharp. "Face it, round cheeks. You might think the nerd is forgiving, but he has his limits. Especially when the people he saved time and again just turn their backs on him. He knows now that the relationships he had with all of you were fake because none of you truly believed in him like we do. If you claim to be his best friend but can't even see through an imposter, then you just used him. Some of the students who had doubted Izuku gasped, realizing that Uraraka had chosen to befriend Izuku for his powerful quirk and Ida for his family name. They knew about her aspirations of becoming a hero for her parents' sake, but they now recognized how wrong that was. They glared at Uraraka, who shifted uncomfortably under their scrutiny, understanding how Izuku felt when he was the target of their disdain. Reiko spoke up, her voice laced with disdain. As expected from her. I always had a bad feeling about her. Now I know she was just someone who would do anything for attention. It's sad that Midoriya doesn't realize how special he is to so many people, including me. Ibra gasped, horrified. Such a selfish girl. Tetsu shook his head. I thought this class was full of strong individuals, but I guess I was wrong, except for those who believe in Midoriya. Awase sighed. Let's not waste our time. It's almost past curfew, and we have better things to do than chastise Class 1A. Agreed. Minoma added. With that, Class 1B left for their dorms, leaving Class 1A to reflect on the truth of their betrayal. They hoped for forgiveness, but it was too late. Izuku Shimura had other plans. Izuku sat on the couch, Califa seated closely beside him. To outsiders, it might have seemed NTMT, but they had once been a couple, and Califa had expressed her willingness to share him with others. Izuku poured 2 cups of whiskey, handing one to Califa before taking a sip himself. Califa looked at him curiously. So, what are you planning to do, Aizu? Izuku pondered for a moment. You'll find out soon enough, Califa. He was not oblivious to the world around him. He knew about the League's actions and was aware that UA would soon come to retrieve him, seeking forgiveness for their mistakes and hoping to restore their reputation. This angered him, especially since the media was relentless in their criticism of the school. As the grandson of the previous number 1 hero, Nana Shimura, he felt the weight of the public's distrust towards hero schools, especially with some closing due to pressure. I might hate my cousin, Izuku said, but he did expose the fake heroes that corrupted our society. Califa nodded. It also gave you the chance to meet us. Izuku leaned in and kissed her softly, and she reciprocated. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Come in. Izuku called. A guard opened the door, saluting both Izuku and Califa, as they were recognized as members of CP9, even if unofficially. You have visitors, sir. Shall I bring them in? The guard asked. Izuku considered it for a moment. Sure. Bring them here. The guard nodded and left, closing the door behind him. Califa smirked, knowing what Izuku was thinking. I know what you're thinking, she teased. Well, you aren't my girlfriend for nothing, Izuku replied with a smirk, pecking her on the lips before heading to the kitchen to prepare drinks for their guests. Despite his feelings, he had been taught manners, especially since most of CP9 dealt with nobles. At Yu, Nizu boarded a helicopter with All Might, Aizawa, and Midnight, heading to Tartarus to free their student. Tension filled the air as they prepared to face Izuku, hoping he still had a forgiving heart. Aizawa wore a blank expression, though a glimmer in his eye showed his excitement to see his student again. Midnight felt a mix of sadness and disappointment for not defending him. Do you think young Shimura will forgive us? All Might asked, his voice heavy with concern. Of course he will. Nizu began, but Aizawa cut in. No, he won't forgive you people. Midnight interjected, try to have a little faith, Aizawa. Aizawa shook his head. The look he gave us when he was taken away was one of betrayal. He sacrificed so much for us, only to be abandoned without a chance to defend himself. Our school's reputation is in ruins, and that's on you, Nizu and All Might. Nizu looked down, remorseful. I will try to make amends. Suit yourself, Aizawa replied curtly. Upon arriving at Tartarus, they were checked by guards who glared at them, their disdain evident. The warden, maintaining a neutral expression, approached them. What does the principal of UA want here? He asked. Nizu straightened. We would like to release Izuku Shimura and bring him back to UA. The warden raised an eyebrow, amused by Nizu's claim, but proceeded with his duty, signaling a guard to check if Izuku was willing to see visitors. The situation left the UA staff and principal puzzled as to why they were consulting a former prisoner about who should visit him. After all, he was the principal of UA, but he had clearly angered the wrong people. Not long after, a guard approached the warden, whispering something that prompted a nod. 2 guards then signaled for Nizu and the others to follow. Wait, isn't he supposed to come to us? He was just a prisoner moments ago, Nizu questioned. Just go already, principal, or you'll miss the hour visit he granted you all, the warden replied with a chuckle. Reluctantly, they followed, the warden close behind. Confusion reigned, even Aizawa couldn't decipher the warden's expression, though the guard's hostility was clear. It was evident that something significant was about to unfold. As they walked, they received glares from the prisoner, who clearly harbored resentment toward them. They sure do hate us, huh? All Might remarked. Of course they do. We sent a 17-year-old kid to the worst prison over a videotape. I told you both to give him a proper chance, but you insisted you caught him red-handed. Now we're all dragged through the mud. If we tried to go to another school, we'd be thrown out just by looking at our records. We're not trusted to teach students anymore, Aizawa said, frustration evident in his voice. Both All Might and Nizu hung their heads, knowing Aizawa was right. Soon, they reached a massive black door, which seemed exaggerated. However, when it opened, they were taken aback by the luxurious interior. For the worst prison, I never expected this. It looks like a place a government official would stay, Midnight said, astonished. The warden smirked slightly, acknowledging her observation. Aizawa's eyes widened as he realized that Izuku was somehow connected to higher-ups. If he hadn't been nervous before, he was now dreading this visit and wishing for a catnap. The warden knocked on the door, and a voice called out, "Come in." "You were right on the money, Midnight," the warden said with a smirk. The door opened to reveal Izuku, blankly staring at them, with his arms around a girl wearing glasses. "Sir, we have brought them here," the warden announced, saluting. "Thank you, warden." "You are dismissed," Izuku replied, his tone flat. The warden nodded and exited with the guards, leaving the UA staff in shock. The warden had just treated a prisoner as his superior, and they were all internally panicking, All Might included. Izuku, however, found amusement in their startled expressions and gestured for them to take a seat. They sat in silence, which only added to the amusement of Izuku and Khalifa. "So, what would you like to drink, Principal Nizu, former number 1 All Might, Eraserhead and Midnight?" Izuku asked, his tone casual. They glanced at the drinks, momentarily debating the age of consent, but ultimately agreed on champagne. Izuku poured the drinks over ice before they all took a sip. "Hiding your smirk, are you? So, what brings the principal of UA here?" Izuku asked, already knowing their purpose but enjoying the tension. Mr. Shimura, we have discovered that you were not the UA traitor," Nizu began, his voice wavering. "You mean what the League of Villains told you?" Izuku interrupted. "Yes, we wanted to know if you would be willing to return to UA to continue your studies as a hero. We also apologize for not granting you basic rights," Nizu said, his tone earnest. The staff looked at Izuku with hope, especially All Might, while Khalifa seemed curious about his response. "No, I won't be returning to UA," Izuku replied casually. "Thank God." "What?" Nizu exclaimed, shocked. Everyone except Khalifa was taken aback, Aizawa having hoped for a different answer. "But young Shimura, your grandmother Nana attended UA as well?" All Might said, panic creeping into his voice. "Using my grandmother's name to persuade me won't work. I don't think she would approve of how UA treated her grandson, throwing him into the worst prison in Japan. Besides, you just want me back to make amends for your betrayal," Izuku retorted, glaring at them. "Then we will have no choice but to leave you here in prison for the rest of your life," Nizu said, attempting to sound intimidating. "Principal!" Midnight shouted, clearly outraged. Izuku and Khalifa burst into laughter, causing Nizu to shrink back, realizing his tactic had failed. "Sorry, that was quite funny, Nizu. You see, UA is in a bad position right now. You're hoping to use my arrival to fix the damage you and All Might caused. The reputation of UA is more important to you than the safety of the students. Not to mention you're losing money, which means no robots and no fake cities, completely useless in my opinion. Threatening me with Tartarus will only worsen your reputation. There are cameras recording this conversation, and I can already imagine the headlines. UA principal threatens wrongfully convicted student with extended sentence for refusing to return. Nizu bit his tongue, realizing he was digging himself deeper, and fell silent. Aizawa, I apologize on behalf of those two for their lack of judgment. I'm not even sure if Nizu's high specs are malfunctioning, he said, frustration evident. Nizu felt insulted but remained quiet, not wanting to worsen UA's situation further. Apology accepted, eraser head. I will inform everyone that there are those who believed in my innocence, which I hope will help cease the onslaught against innocent students and staff members caught in this mess because of Nizu and All Might, Izuku concluded, a determined look in his eyes. Midnight thanked Shimura for his understanding, and they prepared to leave, confident that he would soon be released. As Izuku nodded, Aizawa wrapped his capture gear around All Might, while Nizu dragged them out of the penthouse. Once the door closed, Califa playfully pounced on Izuku, her joy evident as she embraced him. I thought you would return to them, she said, a hint of concern in her voice. Izuku smirked, as if I would go back to those who believed I was a traitor. Besides, UA is in a bad shape right now, and I don't want to get caught in the crossfire. He then lifted Califa in a bridal carry, heading toward the bed for some much-needed rest after their long and exhausting conversation. A week had passed since Izuku moved into a mansion owned by CP9, a rather luxurious place. He learned that the world government owned many mansions worldwide for their agents to feel comfortable while carrying out their tasks. Today, an announcement from the world government brought a smirk to Izuku's face, and he nodded to the rest of his group, who shared his amusement. Seated in a comfortable chair, Izuku faced a camera recording him. Holding a paper, he took a deep breath and adopted a serious expression. Hello, people of Japan. My name is Izuku Midoriya Shimura. I want to announce that I've been doing well this past month and a half since I was wrongfully accused of being the UA traitor. A group from the world government has taken an interest in me and my ideology, training me thoroughly, and I am now part of them. I won't delve into my experiences at Tartarus, but I want to address the recent visit from Principal Nizu, Eraserhead, All Might, and Midnight, who came to release me. Nizu and All Might wanted me back at UA, even threatening me with life in prison when I declined. Unfortunately for them, I have authority far beyond theirs. The other two pro-heroes tried to prevent any reckless actions that could put them at greater risk. Not everyone at UA believed I was a traitor. Many strongly believed in my innocence. The only ones who didn't were Principal Nizu, All Might, many students from Class 1A, and some who didn't know me well. I'm releasing this information now because the world government has given me the green light, along with a few announcements on their part. Back at UA, Class 1A, Class 1B, Hitoshi Shinso, the Big Three, and the staff watched the recording. As they saw Izuku, those who had doubted him paled, while Nizu and All Might looked particularly anxious, noticing the glint in his eyes. Is he? Mina asked, her voice trembling. I'm afraid so, Ida replied, equally concerned. Katsuki smirked. This is what happens when you turn your back on the nerd. Izuku continued, explaining how the world government had taken an interest in him and trained him, mentioning his meeting with Principal Nizu, All Might, Eraserhead, and Midnight, which had helped lessen the media's onslaught on the staff. Nizu turned pale. Oh no, he didn't just do that. All Might echoed his concern. I am so sorry. Katsuki glared at them. You want to tell me you were threatening him to return to UA? Good job, UA will be shut down because of your lack of foresight. Mirio added, how could you, All Might? You know Izuku was a good kid, yet you sent him to prison with no parole and then threatened him. Sir would be disappointed. Aizawa smirked. At least it won't be added to my resume, so I can teach without those annoying media chasing me. Midnight smiled. At least he protected us innocent staff and students from the media frenzy. Back with Izuku, he continued. Now, this letter contains an announcement from Admiral Sengoku. First order, Principal Nizu will be stripped of his position as UA principal, and his teaching license will be revoked for acting on feelings rather than logic. He sent me to prison with only one piece of evidence, which was insufficient for conviction. Second, he misused funds on extravagant doors and halls, and biased robots against non-combat quirks seeking to join the hero course. Third, he has poorly compensated and overworked the staff. Fourth, he allowed students to enroll without proper background checks and permitted teachers like All Might, who lacks a teaching license, to instruct students. Izuku turned to the next page, maintaining his stoic expression, unfazed by the consequences of his revelations. Second announcement: former #1 hero All Might is fired for lacking the qualities of a teacher and for allowing life-threatening actions to occur in the classroom. He made poor decisions, such as attending the USJ incident when other heroes could have handled the situation, endangering the students' lives. Back at UA, Nizu and All Might were visibly shaken by the recent announcements, feeling as though their positions were in jeopardy. Aizawa wore a grin, while Katsuki chuckled at the situation. Aizawa, with a hint of amusement, remarked, "Even the world government agrees that we are underpaid." Shinso added with a smirk, "They even mentioned that the entrance exam is biased. Glad to know I'm not the only one who thinks that." Katsuki laughed, "This is hilarious. The nerd just basically fired both of you." Uraraka, looking worried, interjected, "This isn't funny. If he fired the principal, what will happen to UA or us?" Everyone turned their attention back to the screen, eager for the next announcement. Back with Izuku. Izuku announced, for the third and final announcement, UA will now fall under the jurisdiction of the world government. This means UA will be restructured to meet their standards. The staff can remain at UA and will receive higher salaries, with the possibility of raises based on their performance. The entrance exam will be modified to allow quirkless individuals, quirks perceived as villainous or weak, and non-combat quirks to join UA if they demonstrate great potential. Security will be enhanced, with agents dispatched to protect the students to prevent incidents like those at the USJ and summer camp. More staff will be hired to alleviate the current workload, and students who do not take their training and studies seriously may face expulsion. New training facilities will be established to prepare students for various situations. Back at UA, everyone gasped in shock. Aizawa thought to himself, "It's not all bad, we're getting many of our rights back that were stripped away by Nizu." Midnight agreed, "I have to side with Shoyuta on this one." Cementos remarked, "Dispatch agents? They're not playing around." Siro questioned, "This has to be a joke. He's trying to scare us." Katsuki laughed again, "If there's one thing I know about the nerd, it's that he never jokes about serious matters like this." Aizawa added, "And everyone tells me I'm cruel for expelling so many people. They're basically going to clean this school from top to bottom." Vlad expressed concern, "I just hope they don't turn the school into a military." Aizawa reassured him, "Don't worry. The world government won't be overly strict. They'll allow you to do what you want as long as you maintain good grades and performance. If you fall behind, you'll receive a warning, but eventually, you may be expelled if you're not taking this seriously." Back with Izuku. Izuku concluded, "That's all for the announcements. A piece of advice for those joining or remaining at UA, this will be tough. You'll be trained until you're exhausted, so take this seriously. The world government may be lenient, but they expect you to perform well in your studies and training. For those who doubt me, here's the letter with the signature, and the world government will confirm this later." He displayed the letter, showcasing Admiral Sengoku's signature and the world government logo. Izuku finished, "Now that's out of the way, I wish you all good luck." The camera cut off as members of CP9 congratulated Izuku for his professionalism and performance. Japan. The nation was in shock as Izuku Shimura announced his connection to the world government, effectively firing both All Might and Principal Nizu, and detailing the changes coming to UA. As the public calmed down, hope began to rise for the heroes, knowing the world government would oversee the next generation at UA. However, this news did not sit well with the League of Villains. Shigaraki was furious that his cousin had once again thwarted his plans to plunge Japan into chaos by instilling doubt in the populace. The heroes began to work more diligently as the public shifted from hostility to appreciation. At that moment, the Hero Society and every hero in Japan felt grateful for Izuku Midoriya Shimura. It was Izuku's presence that had prevented a war from breaking out in Japan, and the people began to refer to him as the symbol of hope. Chapter End. No one POV. 4 days had passed since Izuku announced the world government's decision for Japan. It turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as public trust in heroes was restored after being shattered by Shigaraki Tamura. The top heroes were immensely grateful to Izuku for averting a civil war. However, not everyone was pleased. The League of Villains was upset that their plans for chaos were thwarted by the very person they sought to eliminate. Nizu and All Might faced early retirement, with Nizu only permitted to intervene in high-level cases requiring planning. All Might, having lost One for All, found himself in a difficult position. Flashback. 2 days after the announcement, life had improved slightly. The former symbol of peace was moving his belongings to a smaller mansion. Despite his past treatment of Izuku, he remained humble, aided by his charitable donations. Exhausted from the move, he collapsed onto his bed, setting an alarm to wake him in a few hours before drifting into a deep sleep. He was suddenly awakened in a dark space, where he encountered the previous users of One for All, including his mentor, Nana Shimura, who wore a disappointed expression. Breaking his gaze, he heard a kind voice and turned to see a frail man with white hair, reminiscent of All for One. He realized this was the first user of One for All and wondered why he had been brought here. The first user spoke. "I can see your confusion, child, but we have a few words to share." All Might replied earnestly, "I'm listening, sir." Daigoro Banjo continued, "We have observed your actions with the 9th user of One for All, and we are extremely disappointed." All Might, realizing the gravity of the situation, lowered his head, ashamed of himself. A gentle hand lifted his chin, revealing his MSDR's concerned face. Tears began to fall as he recognized the weight of his mistake. Nana, seeing his distress, felt a mix of sympathy and disappointment. While she was upset with him for harming her grandson, she also understood that it was partly her fault for not preparing him adequately. She knew he often acted on emotion rather than logic, and she was aware that all previous users had made mistakes too. "Although I am disappointed with how you handled the situation," Nana said with a weak smile, "I can't fully blame you. I realize I haven't taught you how to navigate circumstances like this. We all have our share of mistakes. For instance, I put both my children in an orphanage." "But you did that to protect them from AFO," All Might replied sadly. "And look where that led me," Nana continued, her voice heavy with regret. "My son grew to harbor hatred towards me and heroes in general, which he took out on his son, Tenko, who wanted to become a hero. This ultimately led to the creation of Shigaraki Tamura. Now, Izuku will have to face his own cousin because I failed to consider the consequences of my actions." All Might felt a sense of relief that he wouldn't be reprimanded for being a poor user and mentor. The 6th user spoke up, "We need to get to the point, 8th user. We are extremely grateful that you took down AFO, which brought joy to us all. However, you are injured with half of your respiratory system damaged, and we can't support your muscle form as we used to. That's why we're here to inform you that we will be transferring ourselves to someone else." All Might's eyes widened in shock. "Oh, is it Mirio Togata?" "No," the 4th user replied. "While Mirio is a good candidate, I don't believe he can handle this level of responsibility. You already know who we are transferring to." "But what if he refuses after everything I've done to him?" All Might asked, concern etched on his face. "That's where I come in," Nana said. "I saw how he changed after leaving Tartarus, and it broke my heart to see him so cold." With a sigh, All Might said, "Then I'll leave it to you all to handle this. I know that if I offer him the quirk, he might misinterpret it as me trying to earn his forgiveness through One for All, which is the last thing I want him to think." "Thank you for understanding, 8th user," the 1st user said with a smile. "Despite what happened, you will always be part of us. Just make sure to make it up to him and be there for him, even if he doesn't want it. But don't push him too much." "I understand," All Might replied, smiling. "Thanks to One for All, I became the symbol of peace. I never forgot where I came from, and I am honored to be part of this big family." "Now raise your head, Tashinori," Nana said with a smile. No matter what, I want you to know that I will always be proud of what you've accomplished. Enjoy your life and find someone you like. I don't want to see you living alone. I will try and... All Might promised. Now, this is farewell for now, 8th user, the first user said. End of flashback. Meanwhile, Izuku had experienced a similar vision of one for all and had the opportunity to speak with the other users. Though hesitant to accept the power once more, he ultimately agreed after seeing his grandmother's face. Flashback. Izuku was sleeping peacefully with Khalifa when he was awakened in a familiar mindscape, realizing he was in the realm of one for all. He sighed in annoyance, wanting to get this over with, and walked toward the users of one for all. May I ask what brings me here? If I remember correctly, I don't have one for all, he said. Hello, Izuku Shimura, the first user greeted warmly. It's nice to see you again. We apologize for pulling you here so suddenly, but we wanted to discuss one for all. What is it that you want to talk about? Izuku asked, still wary. We want you to have one for all back. Daigoro Banjo declared. Why would you want that? You know what the 8th user did, right? Why would I accept the same power that was taken from me so abruptly after a year of pain and hard work? Izuku responded, frustration evident in his voice. We understand that receiving the same quirk that was forcefully taken from you isn't ideal, the 6th user said. But please know that we had no intention of leaving you behind. If I remember correctly, All Might told me that one for all can't be taken by force. How was he able to take it from me so easily? Izuku questioned. The 4th user sighed. The 8th user forgot to explain this part to you. The previous user can reclaim the quirk from their protege if they deem them unworthy. Think of it as a backup system to prevent one for all from falling into the wrong hands. Izuku sighed, realizing that this mechanism wasn't the fault of the users and that it was a necessary safeguard for one for all. Nana, he said, looking at his grandmother, who wore a sad expression. He could sense her longing to hug him but felt her hesitation. Understanding her history, he decided to embrace her. Her eyes widened in surprise before she hugged him back, tears streaming down her face. The other users watched with sympathy, knowing that Nana carried the weight of her past decisions. I know what you're thinking and you need to let it go. My mother and I never blamed you for your choices. We understood your position. Especially Mom. She knew she would have done the same if she were in your place. As for one for all, I accept it, Izuku said, reassuring her. Nana felt relieved that her daughter didn't harbor hatred towards her and was grateful that Izuku still loved her. Izuku looked at Nana with sincerity. If I disliked you, I wouldn't have taken the Shimura name. You're my role model. Nana's eyes softened as she replied, Thank you, Izuku. You don't know how much this means to me. As Izuku patted her back gently, she leaned forward and placed a kiss on his forehead. Standing up, she pulled him into a warm hug, a moment that brought joy to everyone watching. The first user smiled and announced, Then it's decided. Welcome back, 9th user, Izuku Shimura. Thank you, Izuku exclaimed, and just like that, he began to fade away, returning to the living world and leaving the others behind. The 6th user approached Nana, offering her a comforting pat on the back. I told you, Nana, he would never hate you. I hope this helps heal your heart once more. Wiping her tears, Nana replied, Thank you, sir. The first user continued, Since one for all was passed to the 8th user and then to Izuku, it has grown more powerful. Our communication with him is stronger than ever. If he wants, he can come to the mindscape to talk to us, or we can pull him in. Suddenly, Daigoro shouted, Look, everyone. The users turned to see him dressed in Hawaiian clothes, their eyes widening in surprise. What did you do, Daigoro? The 4th user asked. This is amazing. I just have to think of what I want, and it appears. Daigoro laughed joyfully. The 6th user's eyes widened in disbelief, but a devilish smile soon spread across his face. Moments later, he stood taller than before, laughing maniacally as he looked down at the 4th user, who was now shorter than most of them. You are all shorter than me. I will rule the world, the 6th user declared. Where is that villain all for one? I want to show him how small he is compared to me now. In a corner, The first user was engrossed in a stack of hero manga, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Spider-Man is so cool," he exclaimed. Meanwhile, Daigoro was on a creative spree, constructing a pool table, a swimming pool, and who knows what else. "This is the best day ever out of my miserable life," he cheered. The second user joined the first user, both of them fanboying over the hero manga. Nana was busy with gym equipment, excitedly bench pressing. "This is amazing. I get to train again," she said, her enthusiasm infectious. Overall, the users were enjoying the time of their lives. End of flashback. Izuku sat in the mansion owned by CP9, sipping champagne and enjoying the solitude. The other members had gone to headquarters for a debriefing, leaving him alone with Khalifa, a girl he had grown fond of despite their age difference. He stood up and walked to his spacious bedroom, larger than the one in Tartarus, feeling content. As he jumped onto the bed, he was unaware of Khalifa hiding beneath the covers. Suddenly, she wrapped her arms around him, startling him. He relaxed when he realized it was her. "Khalifa, can you please stop scaring me like that?" he said, chuckling nervously. "Well, it's not my fault you don't have your observation hockey on like we told you," she replied playfully. "Sorry about that," he admitted, remembering that it was essential for him to keep his observation hockey active as part of his training. His thoughts were interrupted when Khalifa crawled on top of him, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Since you failed to do that, I guess I need to deliver some punishment," she teased, squeezing his breaths slightly. Izuku felt a shiver run down his spine, unsure of what she had in mind. He knew she had been trying to restrain herself for the past few months while the others were around, but he couldn't deny that he had dreamed about being closer to her. "Are you ready for some fun?" she asked, her tone playful. Izuku smirked. "I would be lying if I said I didn't want to." "What a bad boy. Are you even willing to take things further?" she challenged. "Absolutely," he replied, excitement bubbling within him. Khalifa smiled. "I would love that, but let's enjoy our time together first." As she leaned in closer, their faces almost touching, she breathed softly, and then their lips met. Izuku kissed her back with fervor, and they lost themselves in the moment, their connection deepening. After a few minutes of shared kisses, they paused for air, both breathing heavily. Khalifa playfully teased him, and Izuku felt a rush of exhilaration. They continued to explore each other, their chemistry undeniable. As they enjoyed their time together, they both knew that this was just the beginning of a deeper bond forming between them. Izuku and Khalifa shared an NTMT moment, their connection deepening as they explored each other's bodies. Khalifa smiled, encouraging him to continue, expressing her enjoyment of the sensations he was creating. "Good, keep going," she urged, her voice filled with anticipation. With a playful grin, Izuku obliged, reveling in the pleasure they were sharing. Khalifa's reactions were intoxicating, and soon she found herself overwhelmed by the intensity of the experience. "I love it, but I want you closer," she confessed, her longing evident. Izuku, feeling her urgency, responded with determination. He moved with confidence, and the atmosphere was charged with excitement. Khalifa felt a rush of pleasure, realizing that this was unlike anything she had experienced before. As they continued, the sounds of their movements filled the room, a testament to their passion. Izuku was focused, and Khalifa was lost in the moment, completely immersed in the sensations. "Here I come," he announced, and Khalifa, eager for more, urged him to give everything he had. With a shared sense of exhilaration, they reached new heights of pleasure together. Afterward, they took a moment to catch their breath, and Izuku playfully suggested they continue their adventure. "Are you ready for round 2? He asked, a hint of mischief in his tone. "Ready as I'll ever be," Khalifa replied, her enthusiasm palpable. With that, they dove back into their exploration, laughter and joy mingling with their shared intimacy. The day unfolded with them enjoying each other's company, creating memories that would linger long after. As the sun began to set, they decided to clean up, sharing playful banter as they moved to the bath. Their connection remained strong, and the day had brought them closer than ever. In the days that followed, Izuku focused on his training and responsibilities. He had been honing his skills, combining his abilities with the teachings of Rokushiki. His progress was evident, and he felt more powerful than ever. Izuku was seated at his desk, reviewing important documents related to advanced technology shipments. He was also stepping into a leadership role, representing CP9 in various meetings. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts, and Kaku entered with a friendly smile. "Hey, Izuku. Lucci is tied up with paperwork, and the Straw Hats are here. You'll need to guide them to the mansion and show them around Japan later," Kaku explained. "Got it. I just finished my paperwork," Izuku replied, relieved. Kaku chuckled. "I always wonder how you manage to get through all that. It can be quite tedious." Izuku smiled back, appreciating the camaraderie they shared as they prepared for the day ahead. Izuku sighed, reflecting on the monotony of the day. "Yeah, it is boring, but we are planning to improve UA for the better. I hope it will be worth it." He stood up, donned his suit, and made sure he had everything he needed for the trip. Before leaving the mansion, he leaned down and gave Khalifa a gentle kiss. As he stepped outside, a driver awaited him at the gate to take him to the chore where he would meet the Straw Hat crew. As the car drove, Izuku gazed out the window, reminiscing about his journey through life. He had faced many challenges, but he wouldn't trade those experiences for anything, as they had shaped him into who he was today. After a long hour, they arrived at their destination. Izuku opened the door and stepped out, shielding his eyes from the sun. "Thank you for driving me here," he said to the driver. "Not a problem, sir. I will be waiting for further orders," the driver replied. Izuku nodded and walked toward the chore, where a magnificent ship awaited him, the Thousand Sunny. It might not have been the largest ship in the world, but it was special, crafted by one of its members, Frankie. The ship had proven its durability over countless journeys. A voice interrupted his thoughts. "So you must be the infamous Izuku Shimura. Nice to meet you." Izuku turned to see a tall, slender young woman with shoulder-length black hair and striking dark eyes. He felt an instant attraction, though he knew love was complicated. Unbeknownst to him, she shared the same sentiment. To break the awkward silence, he spoke up. "Oh, Nico Robin, it's a great pleasure to meet a fellow comrade," he said, trying to maintain his composure. Izuku, raised to be a gentleman, knelt and gently kissed her hand, causing Robin to blush slightly. "You are such a gentleman. Now come with me, I will take you to see the captain," she said. "Please, lead the way," Izuku replied with a smile, following her closely as they navigated the ship's interior. When they reached a door, Robin knocked and received a cheerful, "Come in." Inside, Izuku was greeted by the rest of the Straw Hat crew. The room surprised him, featuring an aquarium and a large sofa that impressed him. "Hello, Captain Luffy of the Straw Hat crew. It's a pleasure to meet you in person. I've heard a lot about you and your adventures," Izuku said, smiling. "There's no need to be formal, man. We are all friends and family here, no matter what. Besides, we're the same age," Luffy replied cheerfully. "Thank you. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Izuku Shimura," he said. "Nami here." "Izuku Shimura? I've heard about you. They say you're seen as a hero because of your video on social media," Nami remarked. "While I'm seen as a hero, I didn't do much. I simply followed the instructions from the Admiral and announced decisions made by the world government," Izuku explained. Robin interjected, "We kind of read through your history, so we want to apologize for how things went for you." "Don't be. I've already moved on. I wouldn't be a good CP9 member if I let my past haunt me," Izuku replied with a smile. Robin admired his resilience, recalling her own struggles with the past and her longing for revenge against the world government until she found a new family with Luffy and the crew. "Now then, I assume you already know our members since Lucci is your leader," Luffy said. "Correct." Izuku nodded. Zoro chimed in, "Meetings are boring. Can't we stay any longer?" "Don't worry. I was told I could take you on a tour around Japan until 5 p.m., so we have about 6 hours before we need to arrive. What do you say?" Izuku offered. "That would be great. I want to experience the cuisine Japan has to offer," Sanji said eagerly. "I can recommend some restaurants and shops that serve some of the finest cuisine in Japan," Izuku replied. "Nice. You seem to have great taste, Sanji complimented. Thank you. I learned from CP9, so I know my way around. Also, if you plan to split up, make sure to decide on a meeting point, especially you, Zoro. It's best if you stick with someone since I've heard you have a habit of getting lost. No offense, Izuku advised. Fine, Zoro grumbled. I know a lot of shops that sell swords. Who knows, you might find something interesting, Izuku added, noticing Zoro's interest. I accept. Zoro grinned. Chopper, our medical technology isn't the best, so I suggest you walk with someone and not alone. Animals with quirks aren't treated nicely here, Izuku warned. Chopper shivered and clung to Usopp tightly. Frankie, while our technology isn't top-notch, a year or two ago, I cleaned a beach that was full of trash, including many discarded gadgets. I know you could make good use of them, and I'll send you the location, Izuku said. Super! Thanks, man. Frankie exclaimed. Nami, there are plenty of malls around here that sell a lot of things you might like, Izuku continued. Thanks. I really need to go for another shopping spree, Nami replied. Luffy sighed, pulling out his credit card with a hint of dread. He handed it to Nami, who smiled brightly before giving him a quick peck on the cheek. Come on, Luffy. You know there will be rewards later, Nami teased. That makes it worth it, Luffy said, his spirits lifting. Also, Nami, after you finish shopping, call us so we can pick you up along with your bags, Izuku added. Thanks, Nami said, already excited about her shopping plans. Robin, there are libraries here with ancient books that might pique your interest, Izuku suggested. Robin's eyes lit up with excitement. It was rare to find old books that predated the quirk era, and she was eager to explore what Izuku had to offer. Luffy gathered the crew and announced, Now, let's split into pairs. Sanji and Zoro, you two are together. Frankie, you're with Brook. Chopper, you're with Usopp. Nami, you're with me. That leaves Izuku and Robin. Any questions? There were no objections, except for a few grumbles from Sanji and Zoro, who ultimately decided to follow their captain's orders. As they set off in different directions, Izuku sent each pair their locations on Google Maps to make navigating Japan easier. With a smile, Izuku turned to Robin. I guess that leaves us together. Robin felt a light blush creep onto her cheeks. Yeah. As they walked through the streets, Izuku greeted the locals, who responded warmly. They ventured onto a quieter road, away from the hustle and bustle. So, where are we, Izuku-san? Robin asked. This is somewhat of an abandoned street, he explained. Not many people come here since it's mostly older folks who live in this quiet area, away from the noise. That makes sense. Robin nodded. After a few minutes, they arrived at a worn-out door. Izuku opened it, revealing an old-style library. He greeted the elderly man behind the counter, who looked to be in his 80s. As they ventured deeper into the library, Robin was captivated by the vast collection of books. This is amazing. There are so many books I want to read, she exclaimed. Izuku smiled. Most of these books could be sold since hardly anyone visits. We might be his first customers in years. Robin marveled at the old man's dedication to keeping the library open, and her excitement grew as she realized she could buy the books. She quickly began exploring the shelves, picking out titles that caught her interest. Meanwhile, Izuku wandered to another section and returned with a stone tablet. Robin, I actually brought you here for this, he said, presenting the tablet. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she recognized the writing. That's a poneglyph. How did you find it? Carefully, she took the tablet, ensuring not to drop it. She put on her reading glasses and began deciphering the text, her excitement palpable as she wrote down the translation on a piece of paper. An hour later, she finished translating the writings and grasped the hidden meanings. I can't believe such a weapon existed. We should probably report this. Agreed. Izuku replied. Robin hugged Izuku, her face beaming with joy. He returned the embrace, and she placed the poneglyph on the table, eager to explore more of the library. Soon, she gathered a decent stack of books and approached the counter. Sir, may I borrow these books? Perhaps even buy them, she asked. The old man smiled kindly. You can take them for free, child. It's wonderful to see someone so eager for knowledge. Sir, I can't take them for free, Robin insisted. No worries, child. I'm nearing the end of my days, and I hope you'll take these books. The only reason I've kept the library open was to find someone worthy to take them. Grateful, Robin nodded and bowed respectfully. Izuku helped her carry some of the books, and they called a car to take them on a tour around Japan. As they drove, Robin admired the monuments and ancient artifacts that had stood the test of time. Japan is appealing, isn't it? She remarked. Yes, it really is. Where do you want to go next? Izuku asked. How about the ship? I want to put the books in my room, Robin suggested. Sure. Izuku agreed. They arrived at the Thousand Sunny and placed the books in Robin's room, which she shared with Nami. She carefully stored them in a compartment under her bed, feeling accomplished. Before long, she took one book and tucked it into her handbag to read later. Izuku headed to the kitchen and began cooking. After half an hour, he brought the food to the table, and Robin was impressed. I didn't know you could cook, Izuku-san, she said. I had to learn at a young age. My mom was wonderful, but I didn't want to rely on her too much, he explained. That's quite noble of you, Robin replied. She took a bite of the steak, her eyes lighting up with delight. This is amazing. Thank you. Izuku smiled. As they ate, they shared stories about their childhoods. Izuku helped Robin overcome some of her self-doubt, and she felt a flutter in her heart as she realized her feelings for him. She knew Khalifa was interested in Izuku too, but for now, she wanted to create memories with him. The others should be here any minute, so let's get ready to greet them, Izuku said, standing up. Just then, Robin pulled him back, hugging him tightly with a deep blush on her cheeks. Izuku felt warmth spread across his face, surprised by her affection. To his astonishment, she kissed him on the cheek. Thank you for today, Izuku-kun. I hope we can have more moments like this together, she said, her smile radiant. I would love that too. I really enjoyed our time together, he replied, blushing. They stepped outside to find the rest of the Straw Hat crew climbing aboard. Nami was struggling with several bags, which Luffy was attempting to carry. Suddenly, Luffy dropped the bags and fainted on the ground, leaving everyone to chuckle at the scene. Chopper rushed towards the captain in worry, placing his paw on his neck as he gasped. The captain has been defeated. By shopping bags. What a truly terrifying opponent, Chopper exclaimed. Zoro frowned. I feel bad for Luffy. Sanji nodded grimly, recalling his own experience as a victim of a shopping spree. Women are truly terrifying creatures. Nami and Robin shared a laugh at the boys' expense, and soon everyone joined in, filling the air with laughter. It was a happy day for Robin, who felt like she had met her knight, just like in the romance novels she had read. She glanced over at the smiling Izuku. It had been a few days since Izuku met the Straw Hat crew and got to know them. The person he enjoyed spending time with the most was Robin, and it was clear to everyone that they were developing feelings for each other. Khalifa, who had also taken a liking to Robin, was supportive and welcomed her into the harem. However, Robin wanted to take things slow, knowing that Izuku had trust issues. Today was the day Izuku planned to confess his feelings and ask Robin out on a date. Khalifa had been preparing him, wanting the date to be memorable. Izuku walked towards the dock where the Thousand Sunny was anchored. The Straw Hat crew had been informed by Khalifa about his plan and decided to give the couple some privacy. Holding a bouquet of flowers, Izuku felt a mix of nerves and excitement as he climbed aboard the ship. He found Robin reading a book, and her face lit up when she saw him. Izuku-kun, you're here, she exclaimed, jumping up to give him a hug. Yes, Robin-chan, I am here. I want to ask you a question, he replied with a smile. Sure, she said eagerly. With a deep breath, Izuku got down on one knee, presenting the bouquet of flowers. Robin's eyes widened in surprise and excitement. Robin, this past week has been wonderful with you around. Would you go on a date with me and consider being my girlfriend? He asked. Of course. It took you long enough. I love you, and I've enjoyed every moment with you, she replied, her excitement evident. Izuku sighed in relief as he handed her the flowers. She took them, inhaling their sweet scent, and smiled at him. He stood up, and she wrapped her arms around him, pulling him closer for a kiss. They savored the moment before parting for air. Would you like to go on a date? Izuku asked. I would love that, Robin replied. Robin went inside to change into casual clothes while Izuku waited, already dressed in a red shirt and jeans. He sat in a chair, a small smile on his face, feeling grateful that the confession had gone well. After 15 minutes, Robin emerged, looking stunning. Do I look good? She asked, a bright smile on her face. You look like a goddess, Izuku exclaimed, his cheeks flushing. Robin blushed at the compliment. Izuku stood up, linking his arm with hers, and they shared a smile before heading out. They decided to walk instead of drive, eager to explore and enjoy the beauty around them. So, what do you have planned for me, my prince in shining armor? Robin teased. Izuku blushed lightly. Well, we'll start with a restaurant, then walk around Japan to explore. After that, we can visit a museum that just opened, and if we have time, we can go to the park. I guess we have the whole day for ourselves, huh? Robin smiled. Of course. If there's anywhere you want to go, just let me know. I want to make the most of this date, Izuku said. No, it's okay. I really like our plan, Robin replied. As they walked through the streets of Mustafa, people commented on how cute they looked together, which made them both happy. They arrived at a restaurant known for its delicious cuisine. Good morning, kind sir. Do you have a reservation? The receptionist asked. Yes, that would be Shimura Izuku, he replied with a smile. The receptionist checked the reservation book and found his name. Please proceed inside, and I hope you both have a nice dinner. Thank you, they said in unison. Izuku led Robin up the stairs to the rooftop, where the entire floor was empty. He had chosen this spot for its appealing view of the city. Robin was amazed and looked at Izuku, realizing why he had selected the rooftop. This is appealing. You chose this place intentionally, she said. Of course. I wanted to make this memorable. What's better than eating while looking at the city from up here? Izuku replied. I love it. Robin exclaimed. Glad you like it. Now let's order our food, he said. They found a table for two near the ledge, offering a great view of the city. After looking through the menu, they placed their orders for steak and wine, leaving the chef to prepare their meal as they engaged in conversation. I'm glad you're going to be staying here, Izuku said. Yeah, I never thought I would be an instructor at UA, Robin replied. Have they decided what your position will be? He asked. Yes, I'll be the history teacher, she said. That's great. History is your favorite subject, Izuku noted. What about you? Robin asked. I'll be a combat instructor since I'm good at hand-to-hand combat and quirk analysis. I can help the students improve quickly, he explained. Are you planning to teach anyone Rokushiki? Robin inquired, intrigued. Izuku considered the situation thoughtfully. It really depends on the person. If I take a liking to him and he proves to be worthy, then I will teach him. Rokushiki isn't something to be taught lightly. The training is grueling and requires a lot of determination and willpower to complete, let alone ISTR. Robin nodded in agreement. You're right. Izuku continued, what about the rest of the Straw Hat crew? What roles are they taking? Robin replied, Sanji will be the cook, working alongside Lunch Rush. They need a chef of equal or greater caliber. He'll also teach cooking to those who need to learn how to prepare food for survival training. Chopper will be our doctor, working with Recovery Girl. Usopp will teach long-range attacks. Frankie will instruct in the support department. Brook will be a music instructor for anyone interested in singing or playing instruments. And Zoro. Well, he probably won't do much except sleep unless he decides to train someone in swordsmanship, which is unlikely. Nami will teach geography, and Luffy will be a combat instructor. That suits you all well, Izuku said, smiling. As their food arrived, they began to eat slowly while continuing their conversation. They shared stories about their lives and interests, enjoying each other's company. Robin was particularly delighted, taking pictures of the city from their vantage point. They made wonderful memories together. After paying for their meal, they held hands and walked to their next destination, a newly opened museum. Inside, they marveled at the ancient relics, and Robin eagerly took pictures to study later. I can't believe such artifacts still exist after 2 decades, she said, amazed. I thought they would have been destroyed with all the chaos from quirks. Izuku smiled. I'm glad there are people who appreciate museums. Robin nodded, her excitement palpable as they walked to a nearby park, which was mostly empty except for an elderly couple. Feeling happy about their day, she playfully straddled Izuku, wrapping her arms around him. He responded by placing his arm around her waist, pulling her closer. They shared a moment of closeness, gazing into each other's eyes, before leaning in for a kiss. It was a sweet moment that lingered as they separated, both smiling. That was my second kiss so far, Robin said, her cheeks slightly flushed. Izuku grinned. I'm glad to be the one to give you your first kiss. They stood up, adjusting themselves as they realized it was already 5 p.m. They needed to return home to prepare for their new roles at UA. Hand in hand, they walked in comfortable silence, enjoying the gentle breeze as they made their way to the shore where their ship awaited. Izuku helped Robin aboard, and they shared a quick kiss before parting ways. As Robin jumped into her bed later that night, a blush spread across her face. She was now Izuku's girlfriend, and she couldn't wait for their next date. The next morning, Izuku walked alongside the Straw Hats toward UA, ready for their first day as staff. Aizawa had stepped down, and the new head was none other than the marine hero, Garp. Luffy was understandably nervous, recalling the infamous Fist of Love that Garp was known for. As they approached the gates of UA, Luffy hesitated, wanting to turn back, but Nami grabbed his arm. Luffy, you need to man up. He's your grandfather after all. Those who had met Garp looked incredulously at Nami. The man was notorious for his rough training methods, having thrown Luffy into tough situations since he was a child. Izuku reassured Luffy, don't worry, we have your back. Thanks, man. Luffy replied, feeling a bit more confident. As they entered UA, some early students glanced their way, recognizing the powerful presence the group exuded. A few even fainted, mistaking their aura for Conqueror's haki, which they were not using. The walk down the hallway was quiet as Izuku held Robin's hand while Luffy held Nami's for comfort. They stood in front of a door that concealed one of the most formidable figures known to mankind. True to his nature, Luffy opened the door without knocking, revealing Garp inside. As he stepped in, Luffy was suddenly launched back against the wall after being punched in the face. You demon brat. When are you going to learn to knock on the door? Garp bellowed. That hurts. Luffy exclaimed, rubbing his face. You old man. Who are you calling old man? Garp retorted, grabbing Luffy by the collar. Moments later, both of them were snoring, leaving everyone else in disbelief. Garp was the first to awaken. How dare you sleep while being reprimanded? Have a taste of my fist of love. Garp declared, delivering another punch to Luffy, who screamed in agony while clutching his head, a large bump forming. Garp then dragged Luffy into the room, and Izuku knocked on the now damaged door. Garp glanced at them before sitting down and lighting a cigarette as if nothing had happened. Come inside, he called. Everyone was taken aback by Garp's nonchalance after nearly demolishing the school, but they decided not to question him if they wanted to stay safe. They entered the room. Shimura, Izuku reporting for duty, Izuku said, saluting. The others, except for Nami, Robin, Sanji, and Frankie, looked confused but followed suit, knowing Izuku had been trained by CP9, which made Garp smile. Good, at least you are mannered unlike my idiot of a grandson, Garp said, causing everyone to sigh in relief, grateful to Izuku for helping them avoid Luffy's fate. Garp gestured for the group to sit down as a robot approached the broken door to fix it before leaving. Pretty good, huh? This is one of the technologies created at the Marine base by a capable scientist, Garp smirked. It's impressive, sir. I could create something similar if you'd like. Frankie offered. That would be great since shipments are costly and take too much time. Now, on to business. You are the new staff members. I've reviewed your files, and I see you all have teaching licenses, which is good. I'm surprised Luffy and Zoro managed to get theirs, Garp continued. Well, they didn't have much choice. Nami was quite persuasive, and Robin was the one who taught them, Usopp explained. You two girls are doing well. Good job teaching my son, Garp praised, making Nami beam with pride while Robin maintained her smile. Now then, I assume you will be starting today. Here is the list of students you will be dealing with, Garp said, handing Robin the files. Upon looking at them, Robin's expression shifted to surprise. Second year? She asked. Yes. Unfortunately, Class 2A from last year lacked training compared to Class 2B, while Class 2B lacked experience compared to Class 2A. We hope to work on them significantly since I've heard many of them are weak. You have the authority to expel anyone you deem unfit. Shimura, I've heard you were part of Class 2A and know Class 2B to some extent. What is your opinion? Garp inquired. To be honest, sir, I had a major dislike for many in Class 2A due to last year's events. However, if I'm being objective, I'd say the class is weak. They've been overly praised, which has made them overconfident in their abilities. Not to mention, the entrance exam robot was biased, and many current students don't deserve their spots in the class, Izuku replied. Garp listened intently, taking notes. Tell me who you deem unworthy of staying at UA. Your opinion is valuable, and I trust you won't let your feelings cloud your judgment. Yes, sir. The first that comes to mind is Minoru Mineta. He has a reputation for being a major distraction and has made inappropriate comments towards female classmates. His aspiration is to become a hero to build his own HRM, but when faced with danger, he tends to panic. His size makes him vulnerable in combat, though academically he performs well, Izuku explained. Garp raised an eyebrow, surprised, and continued to write down notes. Next is Achiko Uraraka. Her quirk is called Zero Gravity. She has shown determination to become strong to support her financially struggling parents. Recently, she has also expressed a longing to be a good hero, especially after witnessing the loss of Sir Night Eye. Despite my personal feelings, she has potential and deserves to stay at UA, Izuku continued. Good, continue. Garp encouraged. Then there's Tenya Ida. His quirk is called Engine, located in his calves. He's a strict rule follower, and it's best to avoid conversations with him. He's determined to uphold his family's reputation and redeem himself after a reckless decision last year. I had to intervene to stop him from seeking revenge, Izuku added. I already dislike this kid. Good thing you told me. I'll make sure someone teaches him a lesson about his attitude, Garp replied, nodding in agreement. Title: A New Beginning at UA. Izuku Midoriya observed his classmates, noting their quirks and personalities. Denki Kaminari has the quirk electricity, he began. He tends to flirt, which often leads to trouble with his classmates. His control over his quirk is poor, and he sometimes uses it recklessly, which can be dangerous for everyone around him. Garp, the principal, chuckled. Another troublemaker, huh? This should be interesting. Izuku continued, then there's Koji Koda. His quirk, Ani voice, requires him to speak, but he's quite shy and has faced bullying in the past. He's slowly starting to open up, but he needs to engage more in school activities. Good, Garp replied. Izuku moved on. Toru Hagakure, who has the quirk of invisibility, often gets distracted by gossiping with her friends. She relies too much on her quirk and doesn't take her training seriously, but she has potential. Sounds like they need a wake-up call, Garp said. They think they can just have fun for 3 years. Izuku sighed. Katsuki Bakugo, my former bully, has the quirk explosion. He was quite aggressive in the past, but since his encounter with All Might, he's been trying to improve his behavior and communicate better with others. Good. If he hadn't changed, I would have expelled him, Garp stated firmly. No one gets into my school just because they have a strong quirk. Izuku nodded. There are many students, but I wanted to highlight those I think are important. Well done. As for Minoru Mineta, he will be expelled starting today. Denki Kaminari will get a warning but a chance to improve. The others will also receive warnings, and Koji Koda and Katsuki Bakugo will have counseling sessions to help them. Izuku replied, I don't know much about Class 2B, but Nito Minoma stands out. His quirk, Copy, has caused him to take class rivalry too far in the past, but he has shown improvement since getting his provisional license. Alright, Nito Minoma will also participate in counseling. Anything else? Garp asked. Izuku shook his head. No, sir. Good. Now, head to your new staff lounge. It's designed for your group since you tend to be a bit loud. You'll get used to it today before teaching starts tomorrow. Thanks, Grandpa. Luffy exclaimed. Garp smiled. Now get going. He then grabbed a microphone and took a deep breath. Luffy instinctively covered his ears. Minoru Mineta, get to my office right now. Garp shouted. Everyone thought he's in trouble. Izuku added, Sir, you might want to check if he's the UA traitor. Thanks for the heads up. I'll look into it, Garp replied, cracking his knuckles. Location, UA Height Alliance dorm of 2A. Mineta was seen with a mischievous grin near the girls' shower, much to the annoyance of his classmates. Yaoyorozu, Mina, Uraraka. I can't wait, he exclaimed. Ida was about to lecture him when Garp's voice boomed through the dorm speaker, causing everyone to tense up. Minoru Mineta, get to my office right now. Mineta's expression shifted from excitement to fear. The principal was calling for him, and it didn't sound good. Dude, what did you do to make him angry? Kaminari asked. Tokoyami shivered. May your soul find peace, my friend. You've angered a formidable foe. Mineta rushed to his room, clutching his stash of magazines, tears in his eyes. Goodbye, my treasures. I might not make it out alive. Zero entered Mineta's room, wrapping him in tape and pulling him out. You need to go now. You know how he feels about tardiness. Mineta was dragged to the principal's office, still clutching his magazines, convinced he wouldn't survive the encounter. Location, Principal Garp's office. Garp was growing impatient. He clenched his fists, preparing for a stern talk. When the door knocked, he signaled for it to be opened. Zero entered, dragging a distressed Mineta behind him. Garp's smirk widened. Ah, so you've come prepared for your punishment, Minoru Mineta. How clever of you. Zero announced. Hanta Zero has brought Minoru Mineta to the principal's office. Garp chuckled, ready to address the situation. Garp smirked as he addressed Zero. Good boy, Zero. Now that you're out of the office, you better start preparing for the funeral because your former friend is as good as gone. Zero gulped nervously and hurried out of the office. Mineta, upon hearing this, tried to make a run for it, but Garp's smirk remained as he pressed a red button, sealing the windows and the door with metal. Oh, come on, don't tell me you're running away from me. You're hurting my feelings. How about you sit down, Minoru Mineta, and have a little chat? Garp approached Mineta, cracking his knuckles. Mineta backed away in fear until he hit the metal door behind him. Please, get away from me. I'll give you all my stash for free. Mineta pleaded. Location, Izuku and Straw Hat new staff room. Luffy stretched and sighed. Man, that was tiring. Nami rolled her eyes. Luffy, we only remodeled the room. It wasn't that big of a deal. Usopp gulped, his voice shaky. Guys, aren't we going to talk about that Mineta guy? As the reality of Mineta's situation sank in, those who knew Garp exchanged worried glances and clasped their hands together, silently praying for their classmate. Don't exaggerate, Nami said. I don't think he'll go after a second-year student. His parents could sue him. Luffy and the others who were aware of Garp's reputation burst into laughter, much to Nami's annoyance. That was hilarious, Nami, but you clearly have no idea what you're talking about. The kid is as good as dead. Just then, a scream echoed through the halls, reaching even the dorms, sending a chill down everyone's spine. Ah, please stop. It hurts. Mineta cried out. Come back here. You won't escape my fist of justice. Garp shouted. After a moment, the chaos subsided, leaving everyone to wonder if Mineta was truly okay. I take that back. Nami exclaimed, her face pale. What the hell is your grandfather, a demon? Luffy laughed. A demon? My grandpa makes demons look like saints. Izuku sighed. Well, all we can do is say rest in peace, Minoru Mineta. Everyone echoed, rest in peace. No one POV. Last time, Minoru Mineta was expelled. Or rather, he was sent to Tartarus after being discovered as a mole at UA. The League of Villains had bribed him with promises of money and girls, convincing him that once they eliminated All Might and dismantled Hero Society, they would let him have his way with the girls at UA. Mineta, wanting to protect his own interests, snitched on some of the League's insiders. There were 4 other moles spread across different courses as a safety measure, but they were all apprehended after Garp delivered his infamous Fist of Justice. The news quickly spread, and parents across Japan felt relieved knowing their children were safe. Some even transferred back to UA, boosting its reputation as a school that meant business. A wave of students had been expelled for various reasons, including misbehavior and poor academics. Those who had managed to avoid Garp's radar were now working hard to keep their places at UA, restoring the education system to its intended order. Today marked Izuku's first day of teaching, alongside Zoro, in Class 2A. Zoro was less than thrilled, but Garp had told them to have fun and assured them that no one would be expelled or arrested, unless they harmed a student, of course. The glint in both Izuku's and Zoro's eyes hinted at their eagerness to train their new students. After leaving the staff room, Izuku received a quick kiss from Robin. The walk to the classroom was quiet until Izuku broke the silence. "I'm sure going to enjoy putting those brats through their paces." Zoro smirked. "Me too. It's because of them that I'm skipping my sake." Izuku chuckled as they approached the door to Class 2A. He opened it, and the students inside were left speechless. They had never expected Izuku to be their teacher, much less to stay at UA. He walked to the podium, looking at the faces of his former friends and classmates. "Hello to it. I'm your combat teacher, Izuku Shimura. Just call me Shimura-sensei unless I give you permission otherwise. Next to me is Roronoa Zoro. Call him Zoro-sensei and be on your best behavior around him. He won't hesitate to use his swords." Zoro grinned, sending shivers down their spines, and they nodded quickly. Ida attempted to speak, but a single look from Izuku silenced him, making him swallow hard and sit quietly. "There will be rules to follow," Izuku continued. "Believe me when I say there will be consequences if you don't. First rule, I don't want anyone telling me how to do my job or interrupting me if I haven't finished the lesson. If you do, you might find yourself out the window, and trust me, we have immunity, so the government can't do anything about it." Everyone shivered in fear, realizing he was dead serious. Ida knew that warning was directed at him, and he dreaded the thought of being thrown out the window, not the best way to go. Izuku stood before the class, his expression serious. "Let's make it clear, your combat classes will be intense. Intense isn't even the right word. We're going to push you to your limits, and if you don't give it your all, you'll find yourself repeating the training. We're very observant, and if you complain, we'll make it even harder for everyone. You need to understand that you're not the top of the class yet, you're just starting to realize your potential. Kaminari, for instance, your use of your quirk leaves much to be desired." A shiver ran through the students as they felt a fear they had never experienced before, even more daunting than Aizawa's usual demeanor. They felt a sense of despair settle over them. Now, for the third rule, there are designated places to eat, play, and study. I don't want any gossiping or trying to catch up on other classes during mine. Be punctual, you need to get used to it. Life doesn't wait for anyone. Now, grab your P uniforms and meet us outside. You have 10 minutes to get dressed. Zoro chimed in, 10 minutes is long, 5 minutes is enough. Izuku replied, you could use that time to drink sake. Fine, 10 minutes it is. Zoro conceded, and the others exchanged glances, unsure if they were even allowed to drink, given their age. Nevertheless, they hurried to the changing room. Izuku, meanwhile, produced 2 bottles of sake seemingly out of nowhere. I brought one of the finest sakes in Japan. Want to have a drink while we wait for the others? He asked. Zoro grinned. Now you're speaking my language. They stepped outside with their bottles, and while Zoro opened his, Izuku poured some into a cup for himself. They didn't wait long. After 8 minutes, they were breathing slightly, and Izuku smirked. You were 2 minutes away from punishment, but good job. A collective sigh of relief swept through the group as they marveled at the nonchalant atmosphere. Bakugo, observing from the sidelines, smirked to himself, thinking that maybe the nerd had finally grown a backbone. Now, training will start. I want you to warm up and stretch your muscles for 10 minutes, Izuku instructed. Ida took charge, leading the warm-up while Zoro kept a watchful eye, bonking anyone who didn't follow instructions correctly. As the minutes passed, it became clear that they were going to have to work harder than they ever had before. This was supposed to be a 10-minute warm-up, but you wasted 5 minutes. The next exercise will be much harder, 15 laps around the school grounds. No quirks, just your physical strength. I won't accept anything less unless you can't move anymore. The students paled at the thought, but a single glare from Izuku silenced any protests. They began to run, and soon, some of the weaker students fell behind. Zoro, ever the motivator, chased after them with his sword, urging them to run as if their lives depended on it. After 30 grueling minutes, they collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. I think I got a cramp, Ida managed to say. Really? Isn't your quirk supposed to enhance your legs? You should have been training harder. Don't worry, your senseis will help you with that, Izuku replied, his tone serious. Warm-up? That's got to be a joke, right? Kaminari asked, incredulous. Zoro responded, do we look like we're joking? Kaminari quickly replied, no, sir. Now, I want you to do 10 push-ups, Izuku commanded. The students sighed in relief, thinking it was a simple task, but Izuku and Zoro exchanged knowing smirks. Did you really think I'd be that merciful? I want you all to do 100 push-ups right now, Izuku declared. Their faces drained of color as they gulped, but they began the task. Some struggled, like Toru, who couldn't manage even one proper push-up before collapsing. After 20 minutes of effort, they lay on the ground, arms sore. Good. Now 100 sit-ups, Izuku ordered. They groaned but complied, some managing better than others. By the end, many were gripping their stomachs in pain, with a few even feeling ill. Now 100 squats. Right this instant. Izuku continued. They paled further. After the laps and push-ups, they were in no condition to keep going. Uraraka fainted, and Izuku looked at her with disappointment. Zoro stepped forward, grabbing Kaminari by the collar. Listen, I want you to use your quirk on her. We can't have her sleeping through this. Everyone gasped at the suggestion. But sir, with all due respect, that seems a bit extreme, Ida protested. Zoro shot back. Need I remind you that we have immunity? We can use whatever methods we see fit to train you. Kaminari approached the unconscious Uraraka, anxiety coursing through him. Izuku added, a piece of advice. Kaminari, if she doesn't wake up, you could be in serious trouble. This is a lesson in controlling your quirk. Kaminari, terrified at the thought of harming Uraraka, began to use a low voltage to shock her. When that didn't work, he increased it, and finally, at 20 volts, she jolted awake, glaring at him. Before she could speak, Zoro loomed over her, his eye glowing with intensity, his sword resting on his shoulder. Zoro stood before the class, his expression serious. It's good to see you awake. We don't want anyone weak-hearted in my class or at this school. The next time you faint, round face, I'll make sure your training is much tougher. So far, Izuku has been kind to you all, but our training is far more intense than this, and we never complain. You say you want to save people, but how can you do that if you're so weak? Uraraka felt a lump in her throat, her head bowed in shame as she reflected on her own weaknesses. The rest of the class was busy doing squats, the exercise pushing them to their limits. After 20 grueling minutes, they finally finished, but their bodies were on fire from the exertion. As the final bell rang, a wave of relief washed over the students. All right, get moving to your homeroom, Izuku instructed. Don't be late for Aizawa's class, or I'll make the training even harder. With adrenaline fueling them, the students sprinted to the changing room. Izuku and Zoro shared a laugh, enjoying the challenge they had set for their students as they settled on a rock to relax and hydrate. When Class 2A entered their homeroom, they found Aizawa looking surprisingly alert. He had been well rested and was about to comment on their punctuality when he noticed the state of his students. They looked exhausted. Even Bakugo, Ida, Todoroki, and Kirishima struggled to keep their feet moving. It reminded him of the training camp, but this seemed even more intense. Some students slumped in their chairs, fatigue overtaking them. What kind of training did your senseis put you through? Aizawa asked, raising an eyebrow. Shiro groaned, "It was hell." Katsuki added, "Hell doesn't even begin to cover it. We had to run around the school 15 times, and Zoro-sensei called that a warm-up. If we slacked off, he chased us with his swords, and he was serious about it. He even had Pikachu use his quirk to wake up Uraraka after she fainted, warning him that if anything happened to her, he'd arrest him for it." Aizawa couldn't help but smirk at the thought of Zoro and Izuku pushing the students to their limits. He appreciated the creativity behind their methods, especially how Kaminari had been used to help Uraraka. Breathing heavily, Kaminari said, "I'd rather have Aizawa-sensei's training than what we just went through." With a grin, Aizawa replied, "So now you want my training? Well, too bad, you have 20 minutes to rest." The room erupted in cheers. "Thank you, Aizawa-sensei." After their brief respite, the students prepared for the next lesson, collapsing into their beds as soon as they returned to their rooms. News of Class 2 as rigorous training spread quickly, and the reputation of the once mighty class had taken a significant hit after just one session.